Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Off Axis Builds. I got a fun project. I actually was inspired by a VW Jawbreaker about this one. He recently did a video on a starter box, and I thought, you know what? I need to get a starter box. I need one for this car and one for the future projects. So he inspired me to do this. I'll put a link down below to his channel. He's got a great channel. He's got his Jawbreaker car, and he's also got another one he's working on. Go check him out, alright guys? So, let's dive right into see what I have for this starter box, okay? So, what I'm going to be using is an old handgun case, okay? It's actually a Pelican case. Not sure how much this one was. I had it in the garage. But all the other stuff, I'll have a link down below on where you can get it. An Amazon link, actually. What we are going to be doing is installing a tachometer into it. We're going to be installing a starter switch, a power switch, an alternator switch, excuse me, not alternator, a coil switch, okay? And then we're also going to be putting in a generator light and an oil pressure light, okay? And the only reason for that is just to see if those switches are working properly. You don't necessarily need those two lights, but I'm just going to do it just for this project. So the main reason why I wanted to do it, I wanted to do it for this build and future builds so I can actually have a starter box to start my cars. You saw an old video, I had to wire a bunch of wires just to get this thing running. It was tied off to my wing. It was, you know, just all over the place. So hopefully when I get done with this build, we can actually get this guy started again. I don't think I've heard it for about a year now. So I'm excited to hear it again. You know how it is when you're building a car. You just want to hear that engine run. So let's go ahead and open up this box and see the parts that you will need. And remember guys, I will have a link down below for the Amazon parts on most of what I have in there. Not everything was Amazon. Some of it I already had. But nonetheless, there will be a link down below. Alright guys, remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that little bell for upcoming notifications, and let's get started, guys. Alright guys, so like I said, this was a Pelican case. I want to say it was probably about a $40 case. You know, I think this whole build would be roughly, I want to say you can get it done for roughly about 50 to 100 bucks. You know, depending on what type of case you get, that's the most expensive part. So what I got here is a switch panel. This is actually the power switch. Okay, that'll be main power. We'll put power to the starter switch to be able to start the car. The reason why it has 3 switches, one is actually going to be turned into a green light for your, I believe, the oil. The other one will be the red light for your alternator, and then I will have a coil switch. And the reason why I will have a coil switch is so I can actually shut the coil off just to prime the oil in the case, okay? So it comes with all the wiring. I believe this thing was about, I want to say 20 bucks, somewhere in there. Not bad, okay? Then we got a cheap 2-inch tachometer. Probably hard to see. Once the light's on inside, you'll be able to see it. But a cheap 2-inch tachometer. Let's see if I can get you guys a little better video on that. No, you can't see it. Anyways, there is actually a dial in there. There is the gauge and everything. It's 1,000 RPMs all the way, or excuse me, 0 RPMs all the way up to 10,000 RPMs. You'll see it when I get it all lit up. You don't have to get this one, but this was only 13 bucks, I believe, 15 bucks. Not bad. It comes with instructions on how to wire it. So, pretty nice little unit. Let's see, I got a red light and a green light to replace those 2 switches there. And then I got some alligator clips and some pieces to go through the box for the wiring. Okay, so first things first, we need to figure out where we're going to mount this and this. The wiring will come after that, okay? So what I'm thinking I'm going to just remove this, okay? And then we'll mount on the lid this whole unit, okay? So I'm thinking I'll probably just mount it right here. Boom. I'll actually cover that just to kind of get that out of there. And then the gauge will probably mount right underneath it. Nice clean, you know. And then probably take and mount my through holes right back here. 1, 2. I think that'll be nice and clean. The nice thing about this, I'm going to try and make it to where the wires are removable, so I can open it up, put all the wires in here, and then I will have a storage box that's, you know, just can get stored away. Nice clean, nothing hanging outside. I'll probably do some wire connections for all the wires. So that's my plan. Let's go ahead and get this guy laid out. So I probably have to remove all the switches so I can draw around and figure out where to mount it and how much material I need to remove from my box. All right, guys, so let's take a look at what we have here. Whoop. Here's our switch panel, our alligator clips, through hole fittings, tack. I'm going to put this switch in the place of this last one. I realized I have electric fuel pump, so I'm going to go ahead and wire this in to be able to send wire to the electric fuel pump and the coil. Okay. Got some lights, wires for those lights, and the last fitting. So let's take a look at this. First things first, you can mark all over the box if you want, but you will be cleaning it up later. So I recommend getting some tape. And just lining Alright, so let's go ahead and see what's in this package. I've already opened it up, looked at it. Does not come with any written instructions, but it's all pretty straightforward. It comes with a relay, some screws for it, and then also some other wiring for probably tying things together. I'm going to use my own wiring. So starting, like I said, I'm going to definitely use this switch. Okay, I'm going to use the start switch. I'm going to take 2 of these out, and then I'm going to switch this one out to this one because it's a little higher amperage rating. This one's 20 amps, and I don't know what these are. And the reason why I'm doing this is that's for the coil and fuel pump. Okay. Probably could get away with this, but what I like is that it has these spade bits on it. So let's go ahead and remove these guys. Oh, they already have them loose. Now we want to get centered on this guy. Slightly under 6, not quite 5 7/8. We'll put it right there. Just double check that it's the same. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so that. Now, since I'm going to have the tack here and all the switch panels here, I want to be able to read everything like that, okay? So I'm going to line it up with their template. I don't know if you can see that there. That's where the Pelican sign was. It darn near fits exactly, but it doesn't. So that's no big deal. Let's go ahead and mark it. Now you got to remember, this marking is not where you're cutting. Okay. Won't be able to mark those. Not a big deal. I plan on going roughly about probably 1/2 inch in here, 1/2 inch in here, and then I'll go quarter on the sides. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's get the tack out. Now this tack comes with a screw-on mount. Some have 2 bolts back here with a bracket that come over. Like I said, this thing was cheap, guys. 15 bucks. I mean, I probably wouldn't put this in my car. Actually, I definitely wouldn't put it in my car just because it's so cheap. You'd probably wind up replacing that in 6 months. But for what I'm doing here, I'll use this thing maybe 6 times, in a year, maybe. So, if it breaks, it breaks. 13 bucks, whatever. Okay, so let's figure out where I want this. I'm thinking right there is actually a good spot. Looks good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark the inside of this. And I actually took from this point to this point to square it up so it wasn't off. So it looks centered, right? Pretty simple. I will probably find the center of that hole and just hole saw it. I think that would be the easiest for that one. More than likely for these, I'll probably do the same thing, find the same, and just hole saw, and then cut. Okay? So, now we got it marked. Let's go ahead and cut it. Alright, so these lights, the diameter is a lot bigger than those. So I just have to bore these out. Alright, so that's what we got. And I'll put little tags down here to have alternator, oil, and fuel and coil. Okay? Alright, let's drill some holes. We got a 2-inch hole here, roughly. It's going to be... There we go. That'd be good if I had a good battery, guys. Alright guys, so let's dry fit this guy, make sure my hole is good. Something holding it up. Actually, I think it's good. All right, that looks good. Let's get this gauge in there. All right, so I know you guys can't see that. You'll see it once it's lit up. In fact, I could probably get some power on it and you'll see that. But this is it right now. I just got to drill those 2 holes for the power to come out to the car. And the box is darn near complete. I just obviously got to wire it up. So let me get some power on this so you can see that gauge. All right, so that's what the gauge is going to look like. Obviously, it's not showing 0. It won't show 0 until I actually put it on the car and get, I believe it's true power to it. When I touch the white to it, you'll see it turn on. Now it's running at 0. So there you go. All right, so I'm gonna put 2 of these in. One's gonna be for main battery. The other one's gonna have all the other wires go through it. All right, so if I need any more, I might put 2 more there. We'll see how many wires I can get through this. I think I can actually, oh, I didn't tighten that one all the way down, just hand tighten. Let's get this outside rubber off. So this rubber, I could probably drill through and open it up a little bit more if I need to. All right, there you go. let's get some wires on this thing. I think it's a clean looking box. I think it's going to do the job. What's nice is easy to open up. All the wires that are hanging out I can just stuff in here, and I'll just have a few pigtails hanging off here. Obviously I'll label them so I know what switch they're going to, what light they're going to, and yeah, I think it'll be pretty clean. Let's get some wires on this thing. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get the last wire hooked up here, the starter wire. It's just going to be power to the starter. I put this little clamp on it just to make it easy to attach it to the starter. So let's go ahead and get this guy wired into the box. As with the rest of the wires, we'll just stuff it in one of these. Hopefully I can get it in there. Let's see here. So I already have this thing tight. So it's giving me a little trouble to get the last wire in here. Alright. Stuff that in like that. Alright. So in here, what we're going to do is I'm going to put a label on it just so I know it's a starter wire, and then I'm also going to put it to the start switch, okay? And what that'll do is give me power to that wire to get power to the starter. Only for a brief moment. If you notice, this is a normally open switch. When you push it, it closes the contact, allows power to go through, and then when we release it, it opens it back up, okay? So let's go ahead and label it. Now this is not necessary to make these boxes. You don't have to label it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it just so it's nice and clean and I know what's going on. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and strip this back about a ½ inch. Okay, now this wire is going to get stuffed into this other side. Now I have power going to this side of the switch. All I need is the wire going to the starter so I can put power to the starter. So I'm going to go ahead and get a zip tie, tie this to the rest of the wire just so it's nice and clean in here. So what I did is, let's explain exactly what I have going on here, okay? So I have power coming in, okay, which will be hooked up to the battery. Okay, so I have a positive, a negative, just to hook it up to the battery. You don't necessarily need the negative for the battery, but I want to have full circuit. Okay, so I did that. Okay, that comes into the box. Let me see if I can get a better picture for you guys. There we go. All right, so that comes into the box, goes to this switch here. Okay, I know it's a little crazy looking right now, but I know exactly where the wires are going. So it comes up to that switch here. I put a 30 amp fuse in here. Probably doesn't need a 30 amp, but it's good to have something around 25 to 30 amps. Okay, that goes into that switch, goes through the switch, comes out, and then I have two lines here. Okay, one goes to the light here. Okay, and the other one goes to the starter. Okay. So the reason why I did that is just so they're separated, and you know, it was easier to do this than try to fit a whole bunch of wires in there at the time. Okay, because as you can see there, I do have about 3 wires in there. Okay, then I take one wire out, and it comes over to this other switch, and that switch there actually is an auxiliary switch. Okay, what that will do is allow me to turn the coil on and electric fuel pump. Okay, you don't necessarily need electric fuel pump wire, but I have this box wired up for an electric fuel pump because Night Owl will be having electric fuel pump on it. So I figured, you know what, since I'm going through the trouble, I might as well wire it for that. Okay, so 2 comes off here, 1 goes to the coil, and 1 goes to the fuel pump. Okay, simple. And then from the coil, I have a ground that comes back, goes to a ground bar that I have in here. Okay, and then also the fuel pump goes to that ground bar as well. Okay. Then I also have power that goes to these 2 lights. Okay. Actually, it looks like 1 got disconnected. Let me make sure that's wired up properly. There we go. Okay. So, 1 goes to the bottom. Excuse me. 1 goes to the power to the light, and then the other half is the ground, and that ground goes to a separate ground plug that I have here. It's not part of the ground bar, it's just a connection that I made. Then the other half of that goes to the alternator and the oil. So once it makes a ground down there, the light will turn on. Once it finishes whatever it's going to do, the diagnostic on it, the light will turn off. If you do not get the light to turn off, then you have something going on with your oil system or your alternator. Not a big deal. Just got to take a look at the reason why it's not going off. And then I also have power going to my tack. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you the connections I have on the other end. Okay, so like I said, I have power coming in and ground coming in. Okay. I will have power for the alternator. Okay. And then, let's see, where's the ground? I have another one in here. Nope, that's not it. And as you can see, I've actually labeled all of them. Got oil light green, ground, and alternator light red. I have the ground for the engine, just to get a little extra ground on there, because obviously the battery ground's not connected, so this will make the connection to the engine. Okay, and then we have, like I said a minute ago, I have an oil light, which this is going to go to the oil switch down on the reservoir. Usually it's about 3 inches up on the case. I'll show that when I go ahead and wire it into the engine, which we're not going to do tonight because it's late. I'll do that on a Saturday. And then I have the red light, which goes to the alternator. and it's the ground for the alternator. All that does is tell you if the alternator is grounded out. If it is not grounded out and you have positive going to ground, this light will remain on. Okay. If you don't have positive going to ground, this light will turn off. Okay. Coming down here, I have another set of 2 wires like I showed you in the box. I have one that goes to a fuel pump, okay, and one that goes to the positive and negative of the coil. Okay, pretty simple. Now, most of you won't have electric fuel pumps. Like I said, I will be running one, so we'll just go ahead and plug in black to black, red to red, and this thing will start up when I flip that switch on. Okay, so let's go ahead and get power on this box, and I'll show you what lights up right now and what will light up later. Okay, so if I go ahead and make sure all the wires are connected properly in here still. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take these, plug them to the battery, positive, negative of battery. And here we go. All right. Now I have power to the box. Basically, this switch right here will turn everything on. You can see the tach starting up. And then I have push button power right here. When you push it, power will go through it. Right now, I have power going to the coil and power going to the fuel pump. Turn it off. Now I can do a little test of the engine without fuel and without coil, so it won't spark. It'll just kind of turn it over, but you won't get any spark. Let's see here. If I were to hook up, let's see here. Where is it? There it is. So if I were to hook up the alternator light to ground and the gen light to ground, you will get a light on the, let's see, the green was the oil, right? So if I ground that out, you'll get a green light. If I ground this one out, you're going to get a red light, okay? And that usually happens on startup. So pretty simple design, and I know it looks a little, a little much going on here with all these wires, but I'll show you exactly what's going on when I wire it to the car. So go ahead and kill the power. All goes off. All right, and I'll explain more of that later. So I made a handful of jumpers. Probably didn't need them, but I just made them anyways. The reason for that is because most VW coils, let's see if I find a coil, have this spade connector where you just slide it on. But my Protronics coil does not. It actually comes with screw-on terminals. So what I'll do is I'll just plug this on here. Okay, and then I'll plug this to my coil. Same thing with the red. Okay, just gives me an adapter. Now, like I said, most people won't need this type of stuff, but I want to make this box universal, and so you can do what you want to your box, and do whatever design you want. But like I said, I like this design. This was a great little box. It's like I said at the beginning of the video, it's an old gun box that I had. What I really like about this box, you open it up, okay, all of the wires, let's wind this up, I'll show you. You wind it up nice and neat. Look at this. I made it to where all of the wires will tuck into the box. You won't have a big mess outside of the box, okay? go. So all of the wires go into the box. It's nice and clean. It can go on the shelf. It won't be a mess. You don't have to zip tie it later. So just a nice little design that I did on that. So let's go ahead and get this wired up to the car on another day. I'll probably do that over the weekend here and get Night Owl started again. That's why I got my fuel pump out as well. So pretty excited about this. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I got the idea from VW Jawbreaker. Check his channel out. He's got a great channel. We got a lot of good content there, and great guy. He did a similar box to this. I think it had a 4-inch gauge on it, similar switch, and then he also had the 2 lights as well. I don't know if he had a push button or not, but great little box that he built. It gave me the idea to build one for my shop because I need it for Night Owl, and I'll need it for any other cars I build. So, all right, guys. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Off Axis Builds. Like I said, I'm pretty excited about this whole little box. I'm going to use it in a lot of cars. So check that one out and some more videos to come. Again, I'll have a link to VW Jawbreaker. I don't know if it's going to be on top or below, but there'll definitely be a link in the description, and then also I believe it's going to be up top. So check that out. Great guy, great channel, a lot of cool content over there, and check him out. Thanks for watching another episode. Remember, guys, it's built, not bought. We'll see you on the next one, guys.